Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS. And after the fights from the previous episode, we're going to have quite a bit of looting to do, but before we get to examine these items, let's cast this AoE heal from our nymph. And now let's get to it. So first, from the Rakshasa, we have a very interesting cloak. Cloak of the Sewers, which I think of as an expansion and development of a certain concept that we have seen in Baldur's Gate 1 already. On a cloak called Relair's Mistake that allowed us to polymorph ourselves into a wolf. But that wasn't too useful, maybe for a mage that ran out of spells that would allow him to polymorph into a wolf and contribute a little bit in a fight, but generally that wasn't too hot of an idea. However, this cloak provides us with the ability to polymorph into one of 3 forms, and each one of them has something unique that it brings to the table. And even if we don't want to use the polymorph ability, it still provides us with a nice armor class boost that actually stacks with everything else. But speaking of the forms here, the mustard jelly is actually underwhelming because it's not a proper mustard jelly. Because, you know, normally a mustard jelly, a true mustard jelly, I guess, would have 100% magic resistance. But coming from this cloak, this form actually doesn't give us the 100% magic resistance, only 10%. And its elemental resistances are weaker as well. So the only really unique thing about this one is the 100% missile damage resistance. If we wanted to become a true mustard jelly, we would have to actually use this spell, Polymorph Self, and the mustard jelly form that comes from this spell actually does have the 100% magic resistance, which is very useful in many situations. But anyway, going back to the cloak, the troll form is useful for its regeneration, primarily the troll regeneration. Also, you can fight in this form decently well if you're not a usual fighter, because a troll only has 17 strength and it only has like 11 dexterity, I think, or something around that amount. So our usual damage dealer are going to be way more effective with their own stats and their own weapons and stuff, but you know, it's something that you can do. But generally it's about the regen. And as for the rat is a really cool tanking form because it brings 90% resistance to all physical damage types. It can't really do any damage in return. It only attacks for like 1 to 2 damage, but when it comes to its, you know, mitigation to physical damage, it's great. All right, so actually I think I'm going to rearrange a little bit of our inventory here to give more space to Seneshira, and I'm going to already present, I think, one of these forms on Kirinai. Since she is quite a bit damaged, I'm going to polymorph her into a troll, and just take a look at her hit points, how quickly she is regenerating in this form. So while she is regenerating, I am going to loot a little bit more. Now from these kobolds we can get one short sword +1 and some fire arrows. Not a big deal. I think, yeah, Anoman had some short swords. We're going to do some selling in a second, because there is a merchant in the sewers, and I am going to rearrange the items a little bit in a second to sell them in bulk, like in one big stack, because of the price depreciation. Anyway, from Gulchup Hair we can get another full plate mail, which is really good, and now we have another suit of that kind of armor for Anoman, which is going to be a nice upgrade for him. Then when it comes to the clerics, Zorl and Rengard, they don't really have anything special, but I am going to take these plate armors for selling, especially since that merchant is very close in the sewers. Now Gaius has a scroll, a potion of invisibility, and that's it. Gaius was the mage. And now the unique items come from the fighters. So here is Tarner Hatchetman. I think this Abid Alzim's Horrid Wilting is actually random loot, so this is pretty cool. Now he has a full plate mail +1, and this is a small shield +2, I think. And this is a thrown axe +2, so this is the most unique thing you can get from this encounter, really. And this magical returning axe +2, and just a axe +1. He also has, and Draug Fey, the melee dwarf, has a unique Morning Star, and we can actually identify it. Wyvern's Tail. It's a +2 Morning Star with a chance of dealing 5 poison damage. Also has the same shield. This one is just a plate mail +1. Also a Helm of Charm Protection, which Corgan can get. Corgan is encumbered, but it's not a big deal. Can you still move? Yeah, he still can move, just in a more slowly. Also, yeah, she is encumbered because of that 17 strength, and she has regenerated fully, so I'm going to get Kiranai into her human form. There's also something to loot from this container here, but we're going to get to it in a second. Also, I think we're going to give this Cloak of the Sewers to Jaheira to further stack her armor class, although I'm going to think about whether I want to spread the items a little bit maybe between her and Anomen, because Anomen later on is going to have quite serious damage mitigation through the Defender of Easthaven weapon and his superior Armor of Faith spell, but it's not the case yet, and I might want to improve his armor class a little bit more. So yeah, here's the full plate. Oh yeah, Corgan. We can rearrange some stuff. Okay, you have these short swords. Corgan is going to have all of these normal plate mails. Yeah, you can place this here. Alright, first let's sell some stuff to Roger Defense, and he is a really notable vendor. He's the most amazing potion vendor, basically, in this part of the game. And he is also a fence, so he's going to accept stolen goods, and we have a couple of these. Well, he basically has like almost every potion type in the entire game. Like these, and in some decent quantities also. Like he has, for example, 3 potions of magic shielding. These are very good. He's basically, you know, potions of all types, and he also has this potion case, which I am going to buy. We are going to steal from him later on in the game, and we're also going to steal from Mrs. Cragmoon, another prominent potion vendor. So we're going to do a potion stealing spree at some point. And I think I'm going to buy these 3 potions of fire breath when we get some space. I'm going to sell this Wyvern Tail. We could use it to some effect on Anomen, but by the time he has a second proficiency in Flail and Morningstar, we're going to have better weapons for him. And now he's just better with maces. So I'm going to sell that and buy some potions of fire breath. I like these. And yeah, let's just sell what we can. We also have a couple of these plate mails +1 that I'm going to sell in one big stack. Also, this mace +1 we stole from Erledrian, I think, at the beginning of the game, so he's going to have no problem in buying that. So that's very nice. We can sell all of these short swords, all of that. This katana, warhammer, the cursed berserking sword. I think we have some studded leathers. +1, I think, yeah, we have 2 of them, so just being a little bit more optimal. Also, this composite longbow +1, I think we stole from our legend at the beginning of the game, so we're going to be able to sell it to Roger here. Alright, and now let's rearrange our gear a little bit. So these plates +1 I can give to Kiranai, so she can sell all of these in one go, and Corgan can have these. Also, okay, this is a katana +1, not a normal one. I'm going to pass these wands to Edwin while we're at it. We're also going to give these to Corgan. And just hold on to that stuff. Yeah, we can also ask him about some stuff, but he is not going to be able to tell us anything new about the Guild War or the Cowled Wizards, but he is going to have a quest for us, which we're going to check out in a second. Alright, now we can sell these 3 plate mails. And this 2-handed sword also. Here we have plenty of these normal plates. And we have the 2 studded leathers. I am not going to sell Lilarcor, probably ever, because I'm just too fond of that sword. Yeah, quarterstaff +1, katana +1, that can go. And yeah, I think we're done for now. Corgan can hold on to these for now. You have the charm protection. Okay. So yeah, now we're done with. We can drop that. Now we're done with inventory management. Okay. Now we can actually talk to Roger and ask him why he's in the sewers. So of course he's a fence, so he appreciates being out of sight, but apparently the biggest problem for him down here are the beasties. And he's going to mention a sea troll, and we can actually offer to get rid of that sea troll for him. And that's a little mission from him then. And it's going to be in the southwest corner of the sewers, and we're going to go there in a second. I'm just going to quickly loot this container for some +2 projectiles. And we're going to do that quest with the sea troll in a second. Alright, so we have... okay, let's first get closer to our party. And we're going to rearrange some stuff. And there's also going to be a very notable encounter coming up that I'm going to have to do some explaining for that one. Also we can, while we're at it, we can not here. Mistake. These go to the ammo belt. Alright, so we have some arrows +2, bullets +2 that Jaheira can get. Some bolts +2 that we might identify and sell later, I guess, and some darts of wounding as well. Alright, and now we're going to, on the way to that sea troll, actually, I think I'm going to just summon a little fodder, because we were going to need it. Let's summon that fire elemental. And I think Edwin is going to summon some fodder from the wand.
What is it now?
So just let's have them available here.
Yes?
Anyway, if we progress a little bit further... oh, here's a mustard jelly. I'm going to pull it a little bit to us, because around the corner there's going to be a little ambush.
What is
And I want to talk about it for a second.
Yeah, speak.
Let's just get rid of this mustard jelly. Okay, now it triggered. You can see the teleportation animation and the sound. And there's going to be a beholder and 2 Gauths teleporting in. And now there's a couple of things to say about all of that. So first of all, that is a great opportunity to finally address a certain mechanic of Baldur's Gate 2. That is, its level scaling. Basically, there are a number of areas in the game. Sewers are a good example, or the first level of Watcher's Keep, or the Umar Temple. There's quite a few areas in the game that do use some level scaling in there. And the fact that there are a couple of spawn points where different enemies are supposed to, you know, show up. But the developers prepared basically a couple of versions of these groups, and the game is going to, you know, select the most appropriate group for your level. So they are level dependent, these groups. But SCS has a component that I have installed that will always give us the toughest group, the highest level group, regardless of what actual level we are. So in the sewers, that means we are going to be ambushed by a beholder here, and 2 Gauths. And also, while we're on the subject, I might also explain something about the beholders, and that is my absolute hatred for this type of enemy. That's by far my least favorite enemy in the game, and it's not like the fault of the developers of Baldur's Gate 2, because it's just a classic D&D enemy that they just tried to implement in the game. I guess their mistake was just having these enemies in the game. As classic as they are just stupidly designed, in my opinion. Also in pen and paper, and, you know, in the Forgotten Realms like universe. And basically it all comes down to one of their abilities. If it wasn't for that one ability, I wouldn't have anything bad to say about them. But I'm talking about their anti-magic ray, because basically beholders function in a certain way where they have their multiple eye stalks, and each one of them shoots a different kind of ray at you. And they come in a variety of effects, from like some disabling effects to some damaging effects to even some instant death effects. And the thing is that you can't really protect yourself with spells against them, because anti-magic ray dispels everything instantly, you know. And there is no protection against it. In Baldur's Gate 2, the classic Baldur's Gate 2, there was a bug on Spell Shield, on our trusty level 5 Spell Shield, which actually protected you from anti-magic ray. But it was a bug, and it was fixed. So in the Enhanced Edition, that doesn't work. And no other protection spells work. Like, you can have this spell immunity against abjuration, which is going to stay. It's not going to be dispelled by anti-magic ray, but everything else is going to. So it doesn't protect you either. That's just really, really annoying, because that makes them a kind of like an all or nothing type of enemy. That if you try to engage them toe to toe, they're just going to dispel all of your protections, so you can't use any like finesse and any of your game knowledge to like apply a couple of spell protections and stuff like that to counter their rays, at least for a while. If anti-magic ray just dispelled one thing at a time, you know, it would be a better option, I think. But anyway, so you can't really protect yourself against them, so you know, you're very vulnerable to their rays. Or you use the Shield of Baldur and in turn like counter them completely. Like, it's them that can't do anything against you when you have the Shield of Baldur, because it just reflects all of their rays at them. So it's a very unsatisfying design, in my opinion. And when it comes to different tactics against beholders, there are some ways that we can help ourselves, of course, but there is no satisfactory tactic that is just going to, you know, like work in a satisfactory or a satisfying manner. At least for me, you know, like if even like the developer of SCS says to like go all out on the beholders and like hope for the best, that is not a good tactic in my opinion, you know. Although SCS makes the thing better. I know it's a lengthy explanation. We are going to get to fighting them in a second, I promise. But now let's just talk a little bit about how SCS changes beholders. So of course it makes them way more intelligent, and it makes them actually squeeze more of their rays in a turn. They are way more efficient with them, and they're going to of course be way more effective, and some of their layers later on in the game are going to be improved. They're going to be tougher, and some of the higher level versions of beholders are going to be tougher. But generally, when it comes to their like AI, apparently their scripts are 80 times longer than their like unmodded game scripts. But also SCS gives you a couple of variants of that improved beholder component, and I have chosen one that at least makes anti-magic ray not as stupid as it normally is, and I think it's like even closer to the pen and paper implementation of anti-magic ray, which is, I think, a channeled ability, and as long as it is channeled on a target, the target gets, you know, all of their magical effects dispelled, and it cannot cast themselves, gets that spell failure, but also no magical harm can come to that target. And this component that I've chosen, that we're going to use in our playthrough here from SCS, it's going to attempt to simulate that kind of thing, because once we get hit by anti-magic ray, we of course lose all of our buffs. We get that spell failure debuff that we can't use any magic or wands and stuff like that also. But at least for one round, we are also going to be protected from magical harm. So if you get dispelled by anti-magic ray, at least you have one round of time to like reposition that character, or to get them, you know, otherwise out of trouble, or to like change your plans. You're not going to like instantly die a second later, because all of your protections were wiped out. But anyway, now that we have these beholders here, I want to use this mustard jelly just complicates things. I am going to just retreat with everyone, because these beholders, I want to use some cannon fodder to draw a little bit of their attention, and then basically encounter them from afar and like use some spells on them. They're also in SCS, they're very intelligent, so for example, if you disable, let's say we throw in a glitter dust, which I think I'm going to do with Edwin, and some of them get blinded, the other beholders actually can use anti-magic ray on their like companions to actually dispel negative effects from them. Or like if you use chaos, which I think I am also going to use, yeah, they can like dispel each other with anti-magic ray. But yeah, another thing that I think I'm going to do is make Korgan a little bit of a sacrificial lamb, because his Berserker Rage can protect him from most of their effects, but not all of them. He still runs the risk of actually getting petrified, which I don't want to happen, but if worse comes to worse, Korgan is going to Berserker Rage and just like go in there. And also one thing that kind of works against the beholders is invisibility, especially through a mean like Mislead. So I think I am going to, like if we have no other option, I am going to use Mislead on Seneshira and just defeat them while Seneshira is invisible. But first let's just have this mustard jelly come closer.
Speak without hesitation.
Because, of course, for the mustard jelly we need magical weapons. I think maybe you went around the corner. Because it still apparently attacks Endermen. But anyway, let's have our cannon fodder. Just distract the beholders for just a few seconds before because they are going to... Oh yeah, it's still there, that mustard jelly. Because the summons are going to die very quickly against the beholders, but at least they might provide us with a little bit of... Alright, so it's there. Yeah, already you will see the spam of different effects from the beholders. And unfortunately they are around the corner, and I really don't want to engage them in such position. I want them to come here, so we can clearly like see them. This fire elemental is actually doing pretty well. How can this mustard jelly just come closer? Dude! And also, another difficulty to this fight, oh, finally a good hit, is that I don't want to use all of my spells that are at my disposal right now, because before resting I want to do another really tough encounter. So I want to save some of my spells for some other targets. But anyway, let's have Senashira help out a little bit. Okay, now it's done. Now we can have our summons. I don't think the beholders are going to be too likely to like expose themselves, but at least come from around the corner a little bit, dude. Yeah, they just are there. And I don't want to expose any of my normal party members. We might have to use Korgan. Use his Berserker Rage and just try to lure them here. So yeah, there's going to be 2 Gouths and a Beholder. Gouth is kind of like a lesser Beholder type. They can primarily hold with their rays and deal damage, whereas a Beholder has, you know, the anti-magic ray, has the petrification ray, has different types of stuff that it can do. Just come on, dudes. And they can deal damage, and they can also charm, but it's not a big deal. And Korgan is protected from these effects, but he's not protected against petrification. So that's why I'm being like super careful, because I don't want to like lose anyone to that. Okay, let's actually... With Edwin, we have 2 chaos spells on him. Let's just throw 1 in there. Okay, and let's actually get all of these lightning bolts on this Gouth that kind of exposed himself. And we're going to use ranged weapons from our party members. Oh, we only have 2 thrown axes. Doesn't matter. Kiranai, of course, is the most prominent range damage dealer, and we're going to use some wands and some spells to kind of engage them from a distance. Alright, so they are coming in, and now unfortunately we are kind of exposed, so let's have Korgan here. Alright, this one Gouth already died, this one is confused, and the Beholder saved against our chaos, unfortunately, but since this Gouth is confused, I am going to go all out, I think, on this one, with all of my party members, even Senashira. Okay, so the Beholder used his anti-magic ray on the Gouth to dispel that confusion. So anti-magic ray is not going to hit us this turn, or this round, but it's still, you know, that petrification ray is what bothers me, because I really dislike that in beholders, that they have this instant death here mechanic. Yeah, paralyze. Oh yeah, they have also, oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, of course, with SCS, is their telekinesis power that SCS gives them. So I am going to use the Shield of Baldur later on against beholders to some extent, but basically it's not a complete counter to them anymore, because now they have this telekinesis power, and basically what it does is that after a couple of rounds of combat they are going to steal our Shield of Baldur from us. So I am going to use it, but you know, the effect is going to last for a couple of rounds in combat, and then it's going to get stolen from us, and that's it. So we're going to have to engage them, you know, the normal way. Anyway, one thing that is still effective against beholders is that mustard jelly that comes from the Polymorph Self spell, and also skeleton warriors that have 90% magical resistance, but we have access to neither of these things right now. Alright, and that sea troll actually is over there in the corner, but he heard this encounter, I guess, and decided to join in on the fun. Now Korgan, I am really afraid for him, because I don't want him to get petrified. But we also lost all of our cannon fodder, so yeah, I think I'm going to summon some more with Edwin. And Senashira used the lightning wand, but I could use slow on her, but it wouldn't be, or spook, but it wouldn't be too effective. I'm just going to keep her in safety and unleash some more damage, I think. The Beholder is barely injured and the Gauth is uninjured. We basically are just afraid of this Beholder, so I am going to direct all the damage that I can on it, even if I hit Korgan on the way.
Yes.
And try to like keep max range from
What is it now?
the vulnerable people. Edwin actually saved that against that charm. Alright, we have some fodder. Even if I hit my own fodder, they don't matter at all. All that matters is that this Beholder dies. I think I might even go in with Korgan, although he's slowed, but... Yeah, also the change with SCS is that as Beholders take damage, their eye stalks get destroyed. I'm not sure if his Petrification eye stalk got destroyed. Telekinesis got destroyed, but yeah, I think the danger here from being turned to stone still remains. Alright, Anti-Magic Ray on Senashira. As you can see, you cannot use even potions or wands. You can't use any magic once that spell failure is on. And of course all of her magical effects that don't come from equipment were dispelled instantly. That's just my most hated ability. Also, Kirinai, I think, got charmed or dominated. Oh no, this domination Isaac... Did that domination effect... Yeah, he's just dire charmed, so she is actually going to act against us. So we have to use this dispel magic from Animen. Our magical buffs are dispelled anyway, into well, largely dispelled. Edwin still has his stone skin, for example, and Jaheira has her iron skins. But okay, Jaheira, you might actually use this wand of the heavens on the Beholder. Once this Beholder is dead, it's not going to be too big of a deal. That the Gauth is not that dangerous, especially since it doesn't have any instant death effects. Okay, Kirinai is actually really dealing some serious damage to Animen. If Animen dies, that's not that big of a deal. But let's try to have Jaheira closer. Right. Whew. Alright. We are out of the danger zone. Here. You know, of course, this is the thing, you know, this encounter, we're of course engaging Beholders and the like way before we actually should be doing things like that. But, yeah. It's cool. Now we're out of the danger zone. Now all that remains is that Goth and the Sea Troll, which is not going to matter too much. Now we can even like get Korgan out of there and just quickly overwhelm the Gauth with our damage. And now we can drink something with Animen and take care of that Sea Troll. Senashira of course has no buffs, so her armor class is pretty bad. Alright, and we can use this Scorcher wand, I guess, to finish off that Sea Troll. Boom. Alright, whew. That is... of course I'm just walking past this beam. But yeah, that normally the Sea Troll is here. And yeah, the ambush occurs around the corner.
Yes.
And yeah, fortunately we are done with that. It took a while longer than I expected because we still have plenty of stuff to do in the sewers. Some kobolds spawned again. There's going to be a quest that I'm going to showcase in the southeastern part, and in the northwestern part there's Keldorn, but I don't want to do the conversation with him just yet because you don't have to recruit him right away, but he's going to go back to the Radiant Heart building, and I want him to be available here once we get to doing the Unseeing Eye questline. So I want him to be available down here in the sewers. So I'm just not going to go there. But yeah, and now we can give this quest back to Roger Defense, inform him that the Sea Troll is dealt with. He's not going to be fooled. But yeah, we get some experience and some gold out of it. And now, we can actually leave our summons here. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, now I am going to at least prepare for the next part of our sewer adventure here, which is going to be behind the secret passage. There are actually 2 secret passages in the north here,
Certainly.
in the northern wall. One of them is here. We might be able to detect, especially when Kiranai comes over here. And this one is going to be locked, and we're going to obtain a key to this much later in the game. So we can't open that one yet, but there's also one over here to the left. There's more of these guys.
Have you nothing else to do
Let's,
but bother me?
let's give Edwin a chance to get some kills, I guess, with a fireball.
Yes, as I would have done.
Just to quickly clear out these goblins. I don't want their arrows, I just want the paltry gold. Right, so here's the secret passage that we can actually go through. And there's going to be a certain mage's lair upstairs here. And I think we're going to do that in the next episode. So I thank you for watching this one. There was a lot of explaining in this one, but important stuff, and some action also occurred. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.